It was like somebody had taken a telephone pole outside and they're banging on the door. And I can remember the plaster coming from around the door. And so I radioed for assistance, and 3 other Marines came. Could have been Steve, and there's somebody, I can't recall who it was, but we're sitting there, 2 kneeling, 2 standing, waiting for this door, not knowing. All of a sudden down in the basement, Billy radios and says they've gotten in. So run downstairs, and all this training in the Marine Corps, they train and train and train, and as you're running, you're doing all these things, and you don't even realize that you're doing it. By the time I get downstairs, I'm already my gas mask, because you know that they're in, which means that probably gas. I get downstairs, Billy's got his gas mask on, I've got mine, and he points down the corridor, and you see a bellow of smoke coming from one of the offices, and all of a sudden, the second thing I will never forget, and I will go to my grave, and I will tell every American, that morning is when the Islamic Republic of Iran bring 4 women in black chadors, and they used them as shields. I mean, it was incredible. They're right behind them. They're not pushing fast, very slowly, and here's Billy and I walking back very slowly, and our fingers on, sawed-off trigger, sawed-off shotgun, and here I am at the age of 22, and we're being screamed, don't fire, don't retaliate, help is on the way. We get to the steps, tear gas is popped, and all of a sudden they all flee the building. We go up, we get our stuff from the main post 1. We then go up to the very top of the embassy. And so we get to the very top floor, the most secure part of the American embassy, and we barricade the place. And, you can, you're still coughing from some of the tear gas, and all of a sudden now you're starting to see smoke come from underneath, because what they're doing is they're wadding up paper and they're burning to remove the gas from the atmosphere, but you don't realize it. You think that they're starting to burn the place, and then all of a sudden they start bringing people that could not make it in, because that morning, November 4th, when you closed the door, nobody was getting in and nobody was getting out. So if you didn't make it there in time, you were immediately taken, and they put your arms behind your back and blindfold you and tie your hands up. So they start bringing these individuals to the door and saying, hey, they got a gun to my head. If you don't open the door, they're going to kill me. So here you are on a diplomatic post, an American embassy in the country, and nobody's coming. This is 4 hours into this. And so that's why, again, I truly believe that day of November 4th is the day that the war on terrorism, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the mullahs are thugs, and the Revolutionary Guard terrorists, because they criticized what the Shah had done, but here they were doing not better, but worse. So anyway, President Carter had informed one of the State Department people that were on the horn. President Carter said, hey, give yourself up. It was going to be 18 hours before any help had ever arrived to us, because that was back in the days that nothing like this had ever happened, Allison. So now you have SOCOM, CENTCOM, that is all created because of what happened then. So we, the Marines, we then removed everything from the door, and we then opened the door. The Marines were the first ones out because we didn't know what was going to happen, and so they immediately, and there's pictures all over. My granddaughter, Leila, she's 13, she's always showing me pictures of the things that were online, pictures of that morning, but I can remember being tied, arms in the back, and my blindfold, and it was misting that morning. And I can remember coming down, and I remember looking up, because the more I looked up, the more wet my blindfold became, but I could also look underneath and see the different images, and the images of people putting knives to people's heads, guns, and it was like you're in a zoo, and you're at a petting zoo, and here you were, we were the animals, and here they were taking us. And there was just a lot of, for them, excitement, but for us, concern.
You mentioned being with the having breakfast and such with people from the consulate. Who were the 3?
I can't recall the 3 that were there that morning.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll ask.
Yeah. I
I'm
can.
meeting the Lijeks next week, so I will ask them if they happen to be two of the three.
I think it was the Elijahs. Yeah.
To ask. President Carter, the State Department, they said, give yourselves up.
Yeah.
Was the thinking, were you guys thinking possibly that this was going to be like what happened in February, where yes, they took the embassy, but they let everybody go?
Well, I don't really remember what happened in February. For me, as a Marine, giving up, that was not in my vocabulary. And it was very difficult to understand that we were going to give ourselves up to these individuals that had illegally entered American sovereign property, and they were going to take control of us, which nothing like this had ever happened. So you're thinking, okay, this is going to end pretty quick.